goodness, I made it. I made it just in time. I had enough time to order Nick's drink. I also have a drink for me. I'm just chilling. And wait, I think that's him. Oh, yet. Bro, why you gotta fly in so close, bro? Come on.
It's fun. Sorry.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you for joining us. We join you from the Stonelight Rest in Dronegal. Nick with his freaking entrance, as always.
It's always got to be grand for the Paladins.
Of course. Fortunately, I had some time to schmooze up Innkeeper Ronesh in the front. He doesn't trust us yet. But we got good seats, so I do appreciate him. We got to make sure we tip well and stuff, make
definitely.
sure we're known around these parts.
Oh, we got to make a name for ourselves here, Jordan.
Anyway, it's time we got down to business. There's a lot to get to. There may have been some early access coming out. There may be an expansion coming out today. Pretty exciting. Nick, what are we going to cover today?
Well, this week we have our normal topics, hotfixes, and updates, but our Tavern Talk this week, we are going to talk about how we've been enjoying our new trip to Khadgar, and be prepared, there are going to be some spoilers ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We will be talking about things like Dalaran and Khadgar, and if these kinds of things are sensitive to you, I urge you to not listen to the Tavern Talk and play the game for yourself and experience it, and then come back and listen to the Tavern Talk, because then it'll be sweet. But moving on, do we want to get into what we did this week? I guess.
Jordan, why don't you launch us off? Let's go.
So the only thing I actually capped this week was a mage. I did, my evoker at the time of recording is 78, but my mage is 3/4 of the way through every quest that you're able to do in early access.
Oh my god.
And I played a lot of it. My goal originally was to be the lore master of Khadgar before the game came out, but they made sure we can't do that, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fair. And we'll get a little bit more into how we feel about that later. But the moral of the story was I had a blast kiting stuff on my mage, doing a whole expansion's worth of content with kiting and frost. I'm very excited to talk about that in the later. So I also did some dungeons and retail. So that's pretty much the end of what I did this week. I did nothing but the War Within. I mean, I prepared myself very epically to be ready to go into the early access, and I capitalized. So pretty hyped so far. All the quests are good. Just a couple little gripes here and there. Nick, what did you get up to this week?
Well, this week, Jordan, I also have been mainly focused on early access. I think right now the rep pally is sitting at 77, 78, somewhere in there. Done the majority of the storyline, so I quickly got Pathfinder achievements. That way I could get the steady flying, so I could get some more B-roll shots for us of these absolute beautiful areas. Oh my god, because we need a new intro now. Now that we're outside of Dragonflight, we need a new one. So I'm trying to capture all 4 zones somehow in like 30 seconds.
Fall is beautiful.
Oh my god, that's my Hearthstone is set. I don't think it'll change. But other than that, like I said, I did hardcore. Have been doing that steadily with the Priest. We're currently at level 9, still in Elwyn Forest. If you want to know more, always feel free to check out our hardcore episodes. They're uploading every Friday at 3 p.m. Jordan, that's all I got for this week. Why don't you provide us with the one hell of an update we have coming up?
Yes. So we have today. The War Within global launch comes out at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes.
6 p.m. Eastern, etc., etc. Very exciting. This is when... a quick little thing I'm going to talk about is I want you guys to be really, really careful. Like, if you didn't buy early access, there is absolutely really no reason to. You're going to have plenty of time to catch up before Season 1. You're going to be totally safe. We have until September 10th to get all this heroic gear. You're totally fine.
Yeah. You got time.
But don't turn on war mode, all right? I'm just going to...
Do not.
Just don't turn on war mode, all right?
Unless you want to level in the most painful way possible.
In the least optimal way possible. There will be people... 10% experience does not make up for the people waiting for you to be there. Is all I'm saying. But there's lots of cool things to show out in the War Within that isn't turning on war mode. Like Delves, there's 8 new dungeons coming out, and you'll be able to experience all the new dungeons on normal. And then I did talk in an earlier episode how the heroic dungeons, which will be coming out with the full release for those in early access that really haven't had enough, I guess. So the heroic dungeons will be coming out.
I will say too, Jordan, the delves are fantastic. I don't know if you've done any of them yet, or more than the one that you have to through the quest line, but I've been doing a bit of them. Oh, they are fun. I love the challenge they're providing.
They're super sweet. I imagine as a paladin, it's a little chiller than as a mage.
Yeah,
I
I'm
would
not running
imagine.
around kiting.
No, but the cool part is we'll get more into this at the end. We've drowned on long enough. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my mage experiences in the Tavern Talk. And I'm going to talk about... I haven't even talked about with Nick about what my plans are for my mage now. So I'm excited for him to hear it live on the air. Anyway...
It's gonna be spicy.
So the dungeons are really cool. The heroics will be coming out. You'll be able to queue for them using, LFG. And so I guess let's save the rest of War Within for the Tavern Talk.
Yeah.
A lot of it isn't solidified. We'll talk about some of the stuff that is solidified, like the hotfixes. Nick, what did they hotfix this week?
Well, this week's hotfixes, Jordan, starting in retail, we have quests. Fixed an issue causing players to be unable to see Faerun in order to pick up the quest Blades of the Arathi. The quest items for Leave No Stone Behind are now properly lootable if the quest is abandoned and restarted. Fixed an issue that could prevent recompense from being completed. Witnessing the formation of the Severed Threads now provides the intended credit for the quest Uniting Severed Threads. Players are no longer prevented from completing the Harbinger questline while on the War Within introduction. Fixed a bug where Durzan could sometimes fail to reach his goal in Thunderhead Butt, preventing the quest from completing. Sorry. I had to take a pause for that. I was like, what? Speaker Brinth should now be available as expected in the archives for Golgrin's Reach. Players can once again earn progress towards the achievement Back to the Depths after completing Summons from the Depths. The Mecha Shark X Steam had high octane fuel added to it so you can complete a goblin in shark's clothing.
A lot of quest fixes.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's cool. The early access guys, we knew what we were getting into.
Oh yeah, I've had issues with questing already, like for the whole 3 days.
And we'll boil a lot of this down in our Tavern Talk, but there were some minor issues with questing, but they're already making fixes. But aren't there... So we have professions to talk about, right?
Yeah, we do, Jordan. For professions, enchanting, disabled enchanting weekly quests that are unintentionally available for the first day of early access. Developers note that we disabled these quests and we're increasing the knowledge available to enchanters who didn't complete them starting after the first weekly reset. The extra knowledge will come from knowledge point items sourced through disenchanting and will leave all enchanters on an even playing field. This extra knowledge will become available after you have gathered your other weekly enchanting knowledge, which includes the weekly quests, disenchanting knowledge, and knowledge quests obtained from treasures out in the world.
Yeah, I have taken advantage of some of these enchanting things, so...
Dirty.
Turns out that while I'm on an evil playing field, it's alright, Blizzard, you got me. We're cool. It's all good.
All Dragonflight Profession First Craft experience bonuses no longer apply to player characters at or above level 70. All Artisan's Acuity has been removed from the first-time crafters bonus of Trainers Taught Recipes in the War Within. All Artisan's Acuity has been removed from Gathering Journal Discovery bonuses. And to wrap up, an additional 150 Artisan's Acuity has been added to the one-time reagent bag players receive from the quest Crafting to Order. For Delves, Bran should no longer sometimes get stuck flying his griffin into a wall. Flying into a wall, Jesus.
No, Bran. Oh, Bran. Oh, goodness. We have the Tavern Talk section, but I'm glad they're working on Bran.
Yes. In the Delve, Tak, Riath, and Abyss fixed an issue where air bubbles created by rescuing the preserved Niffin would not stick around.
Okay.
Yeah, right? That's interesting.
Well, that's like one of the mechanics, but...
Yeah.
Anyway...
It's great when it doesn't work. Moving to events. Corrected an issue with the Theater Trope audience approval rewards not being granted by the Theater Trope event in the Presidium. Bear with us, we got a little bit more to go for. For dungeons and raids, all dungeon enemy damage has been reduced by 7% in Mythic and Mythic Plus difficulties. In addition, all health has been increased by 10% in heroic difficulties. The Tyrannical Affix health increase on bosses has been reduced by 5%. Reduced the health and damage of all Battle for Azeroth raid bosses by approximately 40%. Also, the health and damage of Shadowlands raid bosses have been reduced by approximately 65%.
Oh, this was a hilarious issue because Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands was incredibly hard to solo all of a sudden out of nowhere.
Right.
And so they fixed that. I do think it's interesting that they reduce damage in all Mythic and Mythic Pluses. Like, is this, like, if we turn a Dragonflight dungeon on Mythic and we go back to it? Or
Is it now going to be easier, or is it for going forward?
As it's kind of unclear, this note here. Or are they talking about modern Mythic dungeons?
Well, I would assume, if to read it the way it's written, that's just blanket. Done.
All right, well, we'll take it.
That's the way I'm going to read it. And you could be right. Like, I know we had a whole thing last week about they're gonna stop KSM from people, and you were wrong. But
I was wrong, and you were right. No, we need to get a soundboard where it's like, "Woo, Nick rocks, Jordan sucks."
We still need to get the P cool rating going.
We do need to get a P cool little thing going.
Anyway, for Season of Discovery players, Firelands Embers and Emerald chips now stacked at 2,500. Developers note, hang on to these currencies as new items will be made available for purchase in the next major patch. No idea what they are, though. They just that you're going to have
good.
Cool stuff. Nightmare Incursion boss experience has been reduced by 50%. Bosses in Molten Core should no longer spin around and face random raid members on higher heat difficulties. Just randomly get targeted.
Like, no, screw you, mage.
Oh my god, what if they just instantly just smacked all the healers, killed them, gone, wipe.
Well, one by one,
Right.
Boop, boop, boop.
Boop, 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 boop. For Cataclysm Classic players, an issue has been fixed preventing Darkmoon Fair quests from resetting as expected, and Darkmoon Fair quest will now reset weekly. Developers note, this means that each Darkmoon Fair holiday, players will have 2 chances to complete each of these quests. You're going to be racking up a lot of stuff for Darkmoon Fair.
Yeah, they doubled your chances to get stuff. Even better to go, for sure. Yeah.
Jordan, why don't you wrap us through our class changes?
The class changes. So we do have some retail changes.
Yeah.
We have Shadow Priest, where they fixed an issue causing Void Tendrils from Idol of Cthulhu to attack enemies while not in combat with the priest. I've noticed, I'm not even reading ahead of the notes yet, but I've noticed my, as a Frost Mage, that my Elemental will target some things. So I wonder, Frost Death Knight fixed an issue causing Razorist to not persist on a target applied via Arctic Assault when a Death Knight is not talented in the Glacial Advance. For Unholy Death Knight, fixed an issue where the ghoul could not fail to be resummoned upon dismounting. Wow, when you mount... Oh, goodness. Imagine playing Unholy Death Knight in Early War Within, mounting everywhere to try to do quests, and your ghoul can't be summoned every time you drop. Crazy.
God, that'd be so bad.
For Survival Hunter, Harpoon now pulls you to the edge of the target's hitbox. It originally was the center. We do have some rogue fixes, which these are not specific to any spec, which I think is interesting. But they go as follows. We fixed an issue that could remove the rogue from stealth if the vanish duration expired while subterfuge was active. Fixed an issue that could prevent dispatch from triggering in unintended circumstances when Crackshot was talented. And for assassination, fixed an issue that prevented Deathmark's bleed damage from benefiting from Mastery Potent Assassin. So a little bit of assassination buffs, the rest of it is just making sure your class is working as intended. For Shaman, Ice and Fire now affects Primordial Wave damage, as it should have already.
As it should have been doing prior.
Improved Flame Tongue Weapon now affects Primordial Wave's damage. Nature's Fury now affects Primordial Wave damage. So it sounds like the additional damage effects that they were getting promised were not getting applied. Thanks, Blizzard.
Interesting.
Well, I saw it at the end of... Well, we'll get into our War Within feels and things like that, but I did see a Shaman coming up at a low level after these buffs, and was gross. But we have Arms Warrior. Mortal Strike from Unhinged will no longer strike additional targets while Sweeping Strikes is active. Why not? That was fine.
Womp womp.
And then Fury Warrior, Bloodthirst from Unhinged will no longer strike additional... Why?
Womp womp.
You gotta... I was cheesing the Whirlwind so hard. I guess I gotta read it. I didn't even read the whole thing. I hadn't read this yet. So for Fury Warrior, Hey, stop highlighting it. Bro, come on. We're trying to do a podcast. Fury Warrior, Bloodthirst from Unhinged will no longer strike additional targets nor consume the stacks of Whirlwind while Whirlwind is active. Because I was totally eating my Whirlwind stacks for Unhinged to be crazy in less than 5 targets. Anyway.
So is it a good or a bad thing?
It's bad.
Okay, cool. I love
Because
it.
Whirlwind is bad.
Oh, it's bad.
Yes.
Bad as in, like, you shouldn't use it, or what do you mean? I'm just curious at this point, because I've never played Warrior.
Whirlwind is like if they ever summon up like 15 plants all come out of the ground and they all have like no health, then you Whirlwind.
Oh, okay.
Because it hits for nothing, but it hits all the targets equally, no matter how many there are. And so it's really good if there's like 12 or more targets, then yes, you Whirlwind, for your in-between. And especially use Whirlwind procs, because you get 3 of them in a row for 1. But if there's like less than 12, forget about it. Just go ahead and use your other cleave. It's way better. Like your Blade Storms and your Ravengers and your Recklessness and all your other cleavey stuff.
Alrighty.
So yeah, since we talked a little bit about how Warrior it's relatively untouched. It's nothing to be afraid of. Us Warriors will prevail.
Maybe you're turning into Blizzard's favorite class.
I am Blizzard's favorite class. Yes, the Warrior.
I thought it was
Anyway,
Paladin.
we have some PvP updates, Nick, and I was hoping you could bring us through those, if you would, please.
Yes. The maximum amount of honor that a player can acquire is lowered to 4,000 for the duration of the war within early access. The amount will increase to 15,000 within the end of early access. We also have a class update for PvP. For Rogue, the Shiv talent damage no longer reduced in PvP combat, it was 17%. Echoing Reprimand talent damage is now reduced by 20% in PvP combat, it was 30%. For Assassination Rogue, Envenom damage no longer reduced in PvP combat. Mutilate damage is no longer reduced in PvP combat. Also, the Kingsbane talent initial damage now reduced by 20% in PvP combat, prior it was 32%. Moving to Outlaw Rogue, Dispatch damage no longer increased in PvP combat, was 20%. Sinister Strike damage no longer increased in PvP combat, it was 5%. Mastery Main Gouge damage no longer increased in PvP combat. Blade Rush talent is no longer increased in PvP combat. Combat Stamina talent now increases stamina by 12% in PvP combat. Prior it was 15 with a base of 5%. Ace Up Your Sleeve talent effect no longer reduced in PvP combat. It was 20%. Crack Shot talent effect now reduced by 20% in PvP combat. Prior it was 33%. For Subtlety Rogue, Eviscerate damage no longer reduced in PvP combat. Shadow Strike damage no longer increased in PvP combat. Secret Technique talent damage now reduced by 30% in PvP combat. Gormaw's Bite talent damage no longer reduced in PvP combat. Flagellation talent effect no longer reduced in PvP combat. Perforated Veins talent no longer reduced in PvP combat. And that wraps it up for our PvP updates. Jordan, I believe we have a wonderful Tavern Talk section to get to.
We do. Rogue is obviously in an interesting place, and
Yes.
neither of us are definitely prepared to talk about it, but...
No, I do not play. I mean, I have played a Rogue very loosely. I don't know 90% of this, though, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, so Rogue's best of luck. There was a lot of buffs and a couple of nerfs. I hope it works out. Make sure kid's fun in PvP. Keep being slimy.
Yeah.
Slimy boys unite, right? But we do have a Tavern Talk section. So we always start our Tavern Talk section off with a drink, for sure. And I wanted to start our drink to the World Soul. We're only learning the very tip of the iceberg about what we could do to help it, about some of the damages. There's crystals in the sky that change colors. There's all kinds of crazy things to learn about it.
There's a lot of things happening.
I do hope we can save the World Soul. So, to the World Soul.
Yeah. It's a good one. I like it.
So, Nick, why don't you start off Tavern Talk? How you feeling about the expansion?
Oh my god, I am absolutely loving this expansion.
Because I love it in here. I fucking love it!
I fell in love with it damn near instantly. The soundtrack is outstanding, and to match it up with the visuals, holy shit, the visuals are amazing. I haven't seen this, like, I've never been this excited about an expansion, I don't think, since I started playing WoW. Like, I was pumped for Lich King, and I have not been as pumped since then, pretty much. Like, Dragonflight was good, don't get me wrong, but I've never felt something, I guess, never been so magical. Like, but it is what it is. But it's so fucking awesome. It blows my mind. I love playing the game. Every moving shot of, like, piece of B-roll I've done or screenshot has been just amazing. I mean, the city alone on the Isle of Dorne is phenomenal. And then when you get into Hollowfell, it's mind-blowing. Like, taking that first turn when you finish up, what is the area before Hollowfell? I'm blanking on it. I don't remember. But anyway, the first turn into the third zone of Hollowfell is fucking gorgeous. Oh my god, it is a jaw-dropping experience. Jordan, what are you thinking about it so far?
Well, I've absolutely beat a part of the crap out of it, for sure. My mage is, like I said, I'm 3/4 of the way through the last zone, so I've done almost every quest that you can do. I've done all of the dungeons now.
I haven't even touched the dungeons yet.
There's a lot to it. I think they're doing great work. I like the dungeon mechanics. Some people will take this the way they will, but I'm actually pretty scared for the mythic editions of these dungeons.
You shut up! You shut up! I'm so fucking scared right now, you shut up!
Come out with more mechanics.
Really?
Yeah, because I think they have a lot already, and normally they add a little bit of pizzazz in the mythic mode, right?
Pizzazz, yeah.
Like in Ruby Life Pools on normal and heroic, the boulders on the ground don't leave the pool behind them, the area of effect. Or the ad doesn't leave the area of effect behind. So I'm wondering what they're going to do to these dungeons to make them mythic. And that's why I think they're not releasing it till Season 1. I don't think they know exactly what they're going to do with these dungeons yet to make them mythic. But I've had a blast. The delves are sweet. I like that you can go in with a buddy or two and absolutely smash it. Or on my mage, I find, because you can only do level 3s or higher in early access.
Right.
Starting with launch day, you'll be able to do many, many difficulties of delves till your heart's content, which they will drop decent gear. I do think some of this is going to be a little broken, right? If you're a Blood Death Knight, you're just going to be able to do a level 12 delve and get all the best gear right away, right? So they got to figure out how they're going to do that. It's like my mage cannot do a 12 by herself. There ain't no way.
Oh, God,
you know?
no. That's going to be interesting, try to kite all that crap with doing the damage output.
I mean, maybe if I took a week to do it, then yeah.
Right.
Like one pull at a time. But
just never log out.
But yeah. I've had an absolute blast with it. I think you know I don't have to do 12s on my mage. You know what I mean? I can go and join a dungeon group, or when raids come out. Oh goodness, when raids come out, I can't wait. So I've enjoyed so much so far. The main quest is absolutely phenomenal. It is an absolutely exquisite questing experience. It's up there with some of the best of them. The side quests are more of what you have expect historically from World of Warcraft quests, and that's my summary of the questing in it. The side quests pay off the guys who grind out and do annoying quests and fetches and send letters everywhere, and then you have an amazing main storyline that's really pretty.
Yeah, well, and I'll say the storyline, the lore in it has been fantastic, and the storytelling and like everything in it. I haven't found anything bad yet about the game.
Anduin.
I mean, talk about that later. You know,
no, we're in the Tavern Talk.
The cheesiest fucking lines I've ever heard. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's a little.
And I swear, if we're having 3 expansions that are supposed to be about healing the world, and you know, Anduin's having all this tough time, or like the one line, I used to, like, he's talking to Faerun about being, or she's like, well, if your grandfather is King of Stormwind, aren't you King of Stormwind? Or I used to be. No, King. You are. You fucking are. Just because you're like, oh, I'm sad, I don't have the light anymore. Like, boo-hoo.
I don't know, man.
No, you're not. Nobody said you're relinquishing the title of King of Stormwind.
No, me and a buddy of mine were talking about if Faerun, I was like, dude, Faerun and Anduin, they gonna screw.
That I've seen that on social medias too. Is like, is it gonna be a mentor?
She's gonna be
like
the best thing that
or?
ever happened to him. Faerun is so cool. Shield prosthetic for an arm, that's sick.
Oh, dude, she's awesome. She's a great character. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I did. Someone.
And Anduin is not. Anyway,
I don't know. We talk about how he needs to get a rock to the head like a mama.
I think we're cutting that. So speaking of things that aren't controversial in any way, we have Khadgar. And so wee woo, spoiler alert, stop now if you wanted to do the campaign and not learn what happens to Khadgar and Dalaran. This is the cutoff. Stop listening now.
He's dead.
So yeah, Khadgar dies.
Well, hold
crazy.
on. I will premise this. We're believing that he is dead, but
Yeah,
also the thing that
that
Xalatath has absorbs energy, or like the things around it, kind of crap. So he is either actually dead, or he is stuck in I forget what it's called, the thing that Xalatath has.
He could be. Yeah, because
so meaning that he could also come back, which I'm sure is going to happen.
No, I can't believe it. I remember my reaction. I was like, oh my god, they're moving Dalaran again. Are they really? Oh my god. And then we get off of it. Me and Ilaria are looking back up, and they nuke it. I was like, oh, well, I guess no Dalaran anymore.
Right.
Dang.
Which, I don't know, but I think it's I just thought of this. One thing they may be doing with it is removing the tropes that they've used previously, so they can't use them again in writing. So no longer, if Dalaran stays destroyed, no longer can we have a floating city that moves every expansion.
I mean,
and if Khadgar is dead, there's just no more Khadgar, and someone who slightly has problem and then fixes problem, or like Band-Aid's problem.
Yeah, I wish I knew the Kirin Tor better, actually, because I wonder who does take his place now. You know, I don't know about all that, so that's kind of interesting. As I mean, Medivh,
Jaina Broadmoor.
No,
she left the Kirin Tor.
No, she better not.
No, I think she's totally out of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, her and Calicos.
That's a whole different topic. Anyway.
Yep. Anyway.
Scaling.
So yeah, the next topic I want to talk about with the War Within is scaling. It almost feels like a bit like the Mists of Pandaria scaling, where if you walk into a dungeon for the War Within at level 71, 72, you'll be doing millions upon gajillions of damage, and all of us at level 80, you'll be like fighting for 1 million.
Yeah.
So that part's the scaling is off. If you walk into the new expansion and start doing things like dungeons, then keep in mind every class falls off a cliff once they hit like 75, 76, 77.
Oh, yeah. I know. So. God, they were like, you started the quest lines, and it's like, oh, here's 490 something armor. Like, I'm sitting on like 515, 520 area. And I'm like, I'm not taking any of this crap. I'm just smacking everything in like 2 hits. Like, there's no way in hell. I had like 75, 76. I'm like, oh, now we're having to do a little rotation again.
Yeah. And so I wonder how, there's a drawback here, because I do like that the content gets more difficult as you progress, right? You have to learn your class more. It takes more gear, more whatever to make your class more effective. The problem, I guess, when you play a character in a thing like, a regular RPG or like an ARPG, you want to feel stronger as you progress. And this almost feels the exact opposite. Like now, oh my gosh, you have to wake up and learn how all your stuff works because now you're useless,
Yep.
So scaling is interesting. I think they're going the route they want with it, but, there are drawbacks to it.
Right. I mean, we could sit here and say there's drawbacks, this, that, and the other thing. But I think they're doing all right. And if there's issues with it, because, I mean, think about it too. If we're leveling as normal, right, we're going to go up to finish Dragonflight, maybe do Dragonflight dungeons, and then scurry off to the new shit. That's the end game. So it makes sense with how they're doing it a little bit because, we had umpteen weeks to go through Mythics and get all the good gear before the expansion was
And
done.
absolutely, turn the beginning of the War Within into powder. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you bring a character up from, 1, it makes sense the way they're doing it. So I can understand why it's the way it is for us. Like, we're now starting to see that challenge as we get to that, closer to 80. But I don't know. I think it's good. I think if there was a big issue that would have been fixed, I think either close to launch or within this first 3 to 4 days, maybe.
Oh, you're right, because they want the guys with, item level 76 that got to level 6 or level 70 to be able to do something in the dungeon and survive. So
right.
You're right.
Talking about scaling, how about we delve into delves?
Yeah, did you get into any delves this week?
Oh yeah, I've been doing a couple of them. I think they are awesome. It's very. I think what I like about it is it's a solo player dungeon kind of feel, which is, it's how they marketed it too. But I don't
Not
know.
necessarily solo either. Small group.
Right. Small group.
Because if you have 5 of you together, you might as well go do a dungeon, right?
Exactly. So. But I think it's a very fun added thing that gives us something else than just a dungeon.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of individual, like you can just go back to the same delve and run it over and over again until you have it on the right level, if that's your challenge, right? You want
right.
And so it's a very individual challenge, and I like it. You can make it as sweaty in level 12 as you want, or you can ease your way up into it and get some pretty relatively good gear. Like if you're behind on gear, delves are great, for example.
Well, and there's some cool stuff in them too. I was going through one. I don't know which one. I was doing a Delves quest. So I had to go complete it, come back and turn the quest in. And the premise of it was to retrieve like 11 chests or something like that. But the cool thing about it was going through it, I had to keep a candle that as I stepped, the radius of it would decrease. And then if you didn't have a candle on you, take damage. So you're having to always try to make it to the next candle. And it was actually pretty entertaining to do it that way. It was just an added thing to doing a dungeon, so to speak.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
I thought they're taking really cool challenges and stuff and making it fun.
Yeah, I like that you brought it up because this isn't necessarily fair for every class.
Right.
Because it ticks down with footsteps.
Yep.
So on my Frost Mage, I'm trying to not get my ass beat up by all the damn mobs that are coming at me now. And so you know what I do? I kite, I move. It was a very unique experience just standing still and trying to kite them inches from me and save my steps. So
yeah,
favor some classes more than others, right?
Well, but it adds a challenge to, like you said, your being a mage. Any caster really is having a challenge of a style like that. But it makes you have to think about how to manage it properly too. So in all, do you not think it's going to make you a better player for Raid and Mythics? Yeah.
I just think like mages won't be able to do 12s on their own. If
No,
that makes sense.
Well, I don't think.
Well, I'm sure.
Regardless of how they
will,
do it with the scaling of it, I don't think you're going to be able to do a 12 solo. You
Not
and I
as a
together, I can get on the prop pally and run through, and you can just do damage, and then we got Braum just herp being heals.
Well, the problem is Braum dies a lot, an awful fucking lot. Especially if you're moving in the key, in the delve, he's dying. So I did want to talk about one of the dungeons.
Yeah,
it is called,
because I haven't hit any of them, so I want to hear what you got.
There is the Dawnbreaker, which it has some flight mechanics more or less similar to Nakud, where you have to although it's really cool because the ships are moving, you have to fly in between platforms. So the first phase of the fight takes place on a main ship, and then after a while it'll say, move, dragon ride. You'll get an ability to be able to dragon ride. And then you'll have to get off the ship before the giant void circle consumes it. And then it does, it doesn't kill you immediately, but it does do a lot of damage, so you better get your ass out of it. And so then you go to the 2 outsides, and the tank picks one, 2 outside small little ships. You go murder one side, go murder the other. The circle shrinks back in on the inside. She's stunned. We get a damage buff when we come back to the center, right? And so I think it's really cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and then you have to chase after you kill him, the last boss, jumps onto your ship. You have to shoot stuff down And then
Oh.
you chase him in dragon riding and have to get the orbs to live through the poison, and then you get down to the bottom and kill the boss, and then you fly back up to the ship. Now, for pugs, this is going to be god-awful. I'm trying to explain this to pugs. Trying to be like, all right, so, like, am I going to mark blue and green platform? And then I'm going to say, like, green, 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 yelling in chat, right? Like how...
Yeah.
Get on your mountain and green. I'm going to have like macros just for this dungeon.
So what I'm hearing is when we get to Mythics, we are going to need to get a qualified team together and not pug anymore.
Working on that.
Right.
Or just have a, a very conducive environment for our beloved.
It's going to be interesting, though, to run that.
No, and there is a dungeon based on that candle concept as well.
Oh.
Yep, that's why normally you give it to somebody who's a still caster, somebody who's like a mage or whatever, because they won't burn the steps. And it's interesting. It's so wild because you like stand near the tank, and I can't wait. So I can't remember the name of that dungeon. So I already hinted at this a little bit, my mage experience.
Yeah, tell me about this. What are you doing?
My original plan, which I stuck to, was once I hit level 78, I was going to switch to Arcane and start gearing Arcane up and do Arcane like I always do. I found myself really missing Frost Mage, or Frost Fire Mage to be more correct.
Okay.
The cleave is insane. It's way easier to deal with. There's way less uptime. Your CC's crazy. You have a super ice block. And I've just been it's way easier to like when I was doing the last 2 levels of my Arcane Mage, I was like, well, my Frost Nova's down. Well, my Cone of Cold is down. I guess they hit me now. Huh. While on my Frost Mage, I was like, Frost Nova, boom, 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 Cone of Cold, and then I have another Frost Nova, bada boom, kiting for weeks, and then slowing everything. So I think I'm switching to Frost. I think that's what I'm doing, yeah.
No.
That's where this goes. I think I'm going to play some Frost.
Hey, if you're liking the way you play it, hell yeah. Look, man, I always say
Get it, birders.
play what you
does
love.
so much murder.
Yeah, get it. Maybe you can challenge me in the charts with your fucking mage now.
All right. So we have our very last Tavern Talk topic. If we would be able to pick any other person to be put on Dalaran when it explodes, other than Khadgar, who would it be? Nick, do you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
You go first.
Chromie.
Just flat out Chromie.
Nope, yep, and I don't. That's all right, Zaltath. You can have her. We'll fix the
keep
time
her.
ways. We'll figure it out, okay?
Why would you want Chromie?
Bye-bye.
No, what?
Army.
You don't want to ever listen to her again?
No. Nope, that would be just fine.
The Horde and Alliance fighting. This
could be any point in time.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. She's annoying as shit.
All right, who are you putting in?
Jaina
Who are
Proudmoore.
you? Oh, okay, yep.
someone. It was very quick, I know, very blunt.
Well, I mean, me too. Like,
she
well,
is-
you want me to
she-
go first? It's like, yeah, why don't you go first? I was like, Chromie.
All right, just deadpan. No, she never really, I guess the way I'll put it is atoned for her sins of murdering people in Dalaran, like just going on a killing spree. So it'd be great if she went down with the ship at one point.
I think, yeah, there's so much to go into with that.
Yeah, call it her just desserts.
Yeah, she did such an effective job of making the Horde and Alliance allies, honestly. The Horde and Alliance are fighting. This could be any time Jaina was around. Sorry, excuse me.
I will say what I've been happy about so far is that she has had very little storyline stuff in the War Within.
Yeah, I mean, we got Anduin
As far
instead.
as I've been. Well, okay, I can understand having Anduin in it, but here's the thing that I'm still pissed about that is proving to be true yet again from Blizzard. And they're supposed to listen more. I don't know if you saw the interview with, I forget what her name was. She's high up in Blizzard now, and she,
No, actually,
came
I
in
do
in
have to watch these
2020.
interviews, to be honest with you. I've been
No,
playing the game
this
so
was an
much.
article one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was asked what Blizzard learned from Shadowlands and like prior stuff and what they're trying to do to make forward. And she goes, "Well, we didn't listen to the player base." Okay, if you're going to listen to the player base, why is Thrall having elemental dysfunction for the 4th time in this game? And why has he not had anything going on? And like, okay,
He doesn't even have one zone.
Exactly. I have Pathfinder already done. So like I've hit all 3 chapters in each zone, and I've explored it all. Like I've done the whole shebang that I have to. I haven't completed the main storyline yet. But are you kidding me? I have no idea. Like I have yet to see Thrall in a cutscene. Besides, we're leaving Dalaran. We're leaving for the island. That's the last time I saw Thrall. Where the fuck is he at? Like seriously. It's pissing me off that we continue to have
where's Bane?
quote unquote
like
horde representation.
What happened to Lillian Voss or this Kalia Menethil you wanted to make a big deal out of? Where are any of these people?
Exactly. Well, don't even get me started on Kalia. That's a whole different subject.
That's a whole nother topic, but I'm just saying, if they wanted to push Kalia like they were acting like they were going to push Kalia, where's she at? Why didn't we have a couple of get pushed by her to do some stuff somewhere?
Ooh, here is a great theory that someone shot that I was talking to somebody, I think it was Magpie or something on Twitter. She brought up the theory that I think it was in Midnight. There could be, and I don't know how she's getting the theory. I think she was just making it, but which is fine. A Sylvanas sister reunion.
Okay, there's a lot to that.
Yeah,
wow.
right. There's a lot. Yeah, but
like Varisa is not super cool with really either of her sisters right now.
But how amazing would that be?
Because Ronan and Varisa are little alliance babies.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, another thing. all these quote unquote neutral characters, and they're really alliance. Like let's be honest.
Right. Yeah, it's convenient for them to program. So,
on a happy note, go check out Hollowfall. It is beautiful. Oh my god, I cannot wait.
I can't wait for everybody to see it. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. Like I'm gonna spend I'm going to be up probably all night tomorrow editing this one because I want to get the intro so good. Like, and I've never had an expansion where there are so many beautiful shots. Like, and I'm not kidding. The city alone on the Isle of Dorne, Hollowfall, there are so many areas that are just gorgeous, and it's like every time you just turn around, it's like that's my new wallpaper, that's my new screensaver. Like it's so amazingly done. I cannot give these devs enough credit.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I need to go over, man, we really are dragging this out. I swear, we'll be over soon. I swear. But one of the biggest things I'm wondering about is I got to read that Ilaria short story to figure out why she looks different now. Because she's like a little more void touched than before.
Yes.
So yeah, lots of exciting things to delve into. The WoW short stories, which I haven't read any of, which I'm need to get into so I can continue to be a lorehead, you know. But Nick, I think we've went on long enough. Will you send us out?
Of course, Jordan, definitely can. Thank you for tuning into another exciting episode of the Valley of Spirits. We're your hosts, Jordan and Nick, your go-to Horde players. Join us in Dronagal on the Mal'Ganis server and look up our guild, the Electric Boogaloo, for some epic adventures. Stay connected with us on social media. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or X as it's known these days, by searching the Valley of Spirits podcast. Do not miss out on our latest updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more on YouTube. Until next time, may your quest be glorious and your loot be plentiful. And as always, for the Horde.